Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Sunday Advanced Bible Study night, the 27th of April, 2025. Okay. Topic inside the class is Zechariah chapters 11 through 14. We'll be reading those chapters today, breaking them down chapter by chapter. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, get the information, the truth out of it. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh, and Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses, Redeemer and our Savior, the Lord of Hosts. Okay. Okay, yeah. So with this channel is to aid and assist Hebrews who are waking up in these last days to their true identity. Okay, that's the main program. Shalom and welcome to the channel. Welcome to our Sunday Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information, and we'll open it up for anybody with questions or comments or any dialogue. And then we go into our topic, which is we'll be reading out of the book of Zechariah, chapters 11 through 14. Okay, then we'll pick a scripture, and like we normally do, break the scripture down. Then we'll go into we'll close out. Okay, it's a moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay, oh Lord, we come before Thee this day, thanking You for Your mercy and Your great power, and we appreciate You, oh Lord, for Your patience and guidance in these last days. Oh Lord, we thank You for the awakening, for awakening us to this great understanding of Your word. We come before You that You keep, direct, and guide us through the upcoming. Oh Lord, there are trials and tribulations, pestilence and mayhem at every turn. When we see Your mighty hand in the world's affairs and how You are constructing Your people's deliverance, when we trust and rely upon You. And for this cause, we respect You greatly. Turn not Thy face from us at this hour. Allow us in our searching of You to find You, O Lord, and to dwell with You. Peace be unto You. Okay. We read the Psalms. Okay. Psalms right quick. Okay. I'll read Psalm 21. It's a prayer for victory. It's a Psalm of David. It says, the king shall joy in Thy strength, O Lord, and in Thy salvation, how greatly shall he rejoice. Thou hast given him his heart's desire, and hast not withholden the request of his lips. Selah, for Thou prevented him with the blessings of goodness. Thou pure gold on his head. He asked life of Thee, and Thou gave it to him, even length of days forever and ever. His glory is great in Thy salvation. Honor and majesty hast Thou laid upon him, for Thou hast made him most blessed forever. Thou hast made exceedingly with Thy countenance. For the king trusted in the Lord, and through the mercy of the Most High, he shall not be moved. Thine hand shall find out all thine. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate Thee. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of Thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in His wrath, and Thy fire shall devour. Their fruit shall Thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. For they intended evil against Thee. They imagined a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. Therefore shall thou make them turn their backs when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. Be thou exalted, O Lord, in thine own strength. So will we sing and praise thy power. Okay, so that was Psalm 21. Okay, I want to shine a light on this specific verse right here. It says, verse 7. So this the excuse me, this the order of things right here. It says, for the king, which is David, trusted in the Lord, right? And through mercy of the Most High. See that? For the king trusted in the Lord, which is Michael, and through the mercy of the Most High, Yahweh, he shall not be moved. So so we see right there, that's the order. That's the verse that stuck out to me. Anybody else have any comments on that song? Okay. Let me get this right quick. So with that being said, we'll go to our current events. So we got a lot going on with Abraham Torrey. So pretty much most of my current events going to be about that, because I think it's at a turning point with that situation. A lot of stuff being revealed. So our first is this right here. Then we go into that.
Heard the rumors about an incoming gold revaluation where gold could jump to $10,000, $20,000, even $100,000 or more per ounce.
Gold hitting its 24th record of the year.
But what if this wasn't just some possibility? What if a gold revaluation were already underway?
We think there is a movement underway to basically re-monetize gold.
Not from a big announcement, not from central banks officially repricing, not yet. Way, but the way that it always, when faith and trust in a fiat currency collapses and gold steps back in the way it has for thousands of years as real money.
President Trump put out a tweet, "He who has the gold makes the rules, thank you."
Because the people in power aren't treating gold like a short-term trade. As the dollar weakens, crushed by debt and declining global demand, those in power, governments, financial institutions, even Wall Street, are racing to stockpile physical gold, preparing for what comes next, because they see gold for what it truly is, the foundation of the next monetary system. And although the official revalued price hasn't been set yet, the repricing has already begun. So what are the signs that tell us that a revaluation is just getting started? What happens to gold, the dollar, and your savings when the current system collapses? And most importantly, how can you use this information to protect yourself before it's too late? Let's get into it. Throughout history, whenever a fiat currency begins to fail, when the debt is unsustainable, when inflation takes hold, and when trust in that currency is broken, there is one thing that always happens. Gold is revalued. And we're seeing those same signs today. America's debt now far exceeds the value of what it produces, with the debt to GDP ratio sitting at 122%, with projections for that number to only grow exponentially over the next decade. As that debt burden, in order to keep financing the debt, the U.S. will have to issue more treasuries than the world is willing to buy, something we are already seeing today. Foreign demand is drying up, and the Fed will increasingly be forced to step in and buy what others won't, further enforcing a never-ending spiral. But what if there was another option, not creating more debt, but making your debt disappear? What if you had an asset that, if greatly would significantly offset your balance sheet? Enter a gold revaluation. Something that not only history points to as the next natural step, but the people in charge point to. In fact, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said, and I quote, "We will need a grand global economic reordering, and I want to be a part of it. I've studied this."
We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet.
That's not speculation, that's a signal. But if that's not enough, just this past week, President Trump, an outspoken advocate of posted on Truth Social saying the golden rule of negotiating and success. He who has the gold makes the rules. Thank you. This messaging from the White House is exactly what we've been talking about. Two things. First, the New World Order is going to require a new monetary system. That is not a shocker. And number two, gold is going to be at the center of it. But let's not just take their word for it. Let's dig into what a gold revaluation would actually look like. A revaluation can come in two forms. The first is what we're seeing right now, a free market revaluation. This is when the fiat currency weakens and trust in the system is broken. This is exactly what we saw happen in the 1970s when President Nixon delinked the dollar from gold and trust in the system was shattered. What happened to gold? It went up from $35 an ounce to over $800 an ounce in under a decade. But the second form, that's when the government sets an official revaluation, a deliberate price change of the gold, which is exactly what happened at the height of the Great Depression in 1933. There were such serious concerns around banks, the economy, and paper money that people were taking their paper and converting it for real money, gold, which created competition for the dollar and limited the expansionary powers of the government. If you were to revalue to the fair market price of, let's say, $3,400, well, right there alone, you would knock almost $1 trillion off of the U.S. debt just on balance sheet. So imagine for every roughly $4,000 of gold revaluation pricing, you knock another $1 trillion off the debt. What would happen if the gold was officially revalued at $10,000, $20,000, $50,000? It is a possibility that either A, gold will continue to be revalued freely in the free market. I put air quotes around those because if you've been following gold and silver spot prices for a long time and you understand how the COMEX works, I mean, these precious metals have definitely been suppressed and their fundamental value is far higher than the spot price, but that's another video for another day. So,
okay, any comments on that? Any feedback?
Shalom. I believe they might be aware of that, and that's something. It seems like they're wanting this place to collapse. So she came up with a good alternative to get it back running, but I don't see them wanting to do such.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so this next video, like I said, everything's starting to come out in the open, which is Ibram Tory thing. So we'll play this. They're getting ready to set up where they already in the process of another Berlin conference, if you know anything about the first one. So let's check it out. We're gonna look up and be out of here. See how close we are.
Today, the future of Africa stands at a very critical crossroad. Welcome back to the channel where we bring you the real news that matters. If you're new here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us reach more Africans and awaken more minds across the continent. Please share this video everywhere. It's urgent that more of our people understand what is truly happening on African soil. Disclaimer: the views and opinions shared in this video are based on publicly available information, journalistic analysis, and commentary for educational and informative purposes. We do not promote violence, hatred, or discrimination toward any person, group, or government. Now, let's dive deep into today's important developments. A shocking video recently surfaced showing the president of the European Commission boldly suggesting that Europe must approach the Sahel region the same way it did Ukraine, through a so-called liberation effort. She openly called on European nations to rally behind France and intervene in the Sahel, especially against Captain Ibrahim Traoré and the AES alliance. Even more concerning, She proposed collaborating with the African Union, AU, to legitimize this move.
Think about the Sahel region, one of the poorest, yet fastest growing demographically. The succession of military coups will make the region more unstable for years ahead. Russia is both influencing and benefiting from the crisis, and the region has become fertile ground to the rise of terrorism. This is of direct concern for Europe, for our security and our prosperity. So we need to show the same unity of purpose towards Africa as we have shown towards Ukraine. This is a must. We need to focus on cooperation with legitimate governments and regional organizations. We need to develop a mutually beneficial partnership which focuses on common issues for Europe and Africa. And this is why, together with HRVP Borrell, we will work on a new strategic approach to take forward at the next EU-AU summit.
This revelation has sent waves of outrage across Africa. The big question now is, what business does Europe truly have meddling in African affairs? Shouldn't the AU be protecting African interests, standing by its people, and supporting leaders like Captain Traoré, rather than siding with former colonial powers? Are we witnessing the mask of neocolonialism being completely removed? Meanwhile, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, never one to remain silent, was seen in a powerful address to the African Union. He called on them to understand the hopes and expectations African youths have placed on their shoulders. His words were a deep reminder that the AU must reclaim the trust of the people, stand boldly for Africa, and not be used as a tool for external manipulation.
You will hear about the African Union. Yes, it exists. But what is the effect of the African Union in reality? We cannot talk about integration in the theme and not talk about the African Union. Because it is this organization that should unite us, create real integration. But we regret to see these wars that persist on the African continent, killing millions of young people. And that this organization, which has heads of state, with armies, is unable to organize itself to support certain countries. The Union is not just a word. The Union is a symbol. And we, the youth, should learn a lesson from this situation to unite, to make integration a reality. I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which hosts the headquarters of the African Union, was experiencing a conflict. And when I saw the Prime Minister put on a military uniform and announce the closure of the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat. I did not see any action from the African Union to protect these headquarters. Most Western states saw Addis Ababa falling, packing up and leaving. Ethiopia fought, found an internal solution, and is living more or less in peace today. The children of Congo have been dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the forces and all the necessary strategies to support these states so they can regain peace. For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the theater of international terrorism. But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem. Worse, a few days ago, a country foreign to Africa openly announced having supported and participated in a cowardly terrorist and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation in Tinsawatmu. The African Union did not utter a word to condemn this interference by a state outside of Africa in the internal affairs of our states. I would like them to hear this and therefore break their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union.
Thanks for becoming a member today. Your support keeps this truth alive and spreading. Moving forward, a new video has been circulating showing US General Langley speaking once again. This time, he alarmingly emphasized why the West must take back dominance over Africa, particularly in the Sahel region. He mentioned the growing influence of China and Russia, painting it as a threat that must be countered, even suggesting drastic measures. This blatant...
So we can see right here, so far, the NATO, the European countries, and then recently this past week, they're using this black guy, this black General Langley. Now all of them focusing on Sahel, which is Tory, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. They're getting ready to attack it. They're setting it up, like he said, it's the second Berlin Conference. They're gearing up for it. But we're gonna keep going. Anybody got a comment so far? Anybody heard anything about this?
No, sir.
Okay, yeah. So they getting ready to attack, like the lady over the European Union just said. I mean, she said that what they did, what Russia did with Ukraine, they need to do with the Sahel. So they need to attack it, just like what Russia did with Ukraine. So anyway, we're gonna keep going.
This shows that Africa can thrive without exploitation. So why is the West so desperate to return with drastic measures?
What is really happening in Burkina Faso is a revolution that I believe that the entire continent of Africa can emulate. I mean, when you have a leader that really cares about his people, he makes sure that he delivers. Guess what? Will you believe if I tell you that the entire country of Burkina Faso could only boast of 3,000 kilometers paved road from independence till now? Will you believe me? Will you believe me? I mean, a country called Botswana could boast of 3,000 kilometers when the British left them.
Desist from any...
All right, so listen up.
attempts to destabilize their nation. Their voices are clear. Burkina Faso belongs to Burkinabe, not to Paris, Brussels, or Washington. Could it be that a true African revolution is finally happening, led by the very people they underestimated?
This is what a true people's revolution looks like. And it's only just begun. No matter the attempts to destabilize, one thing is certain. The land of upright men is done bowing. These statements can be seen how in the wake of a thwarted coup attempt, Burkina Faso citizens have demonstrated remarkable unity and resilience, leading to widespread public mobilization in support of national sovereignty and leadership. Citizen vigils and protests have erupted across the country, with people from all walks of life rallying behind the vision.
So here we go, protests. That's what Esau and powers that be, they pros at that, protests. I was telling you about how they got all these guys, they've been to all these different schools and all this stuff on how to come into a country and cause protests and upheaval in the country. A prime example is what they did with Gaddafi. They sent in, like they got the SEAL teams and all that. When they used the SEAL team to kill JFK in Dallas, they got teams that go in, bumping their gun, running their mouth, and they're going in, stir up drama in the country. Next thing you know, the country is in revolt. So they did that when they did with Gaddafi, to the point where they turned the people, undermined the people against Gaddafi. Next thing you know, we saw him on live TV get killed on live TV in front of everybody. They pros at that. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, we see since Trump been in office that the blacks have been chilling out. Ain't no blacks been doing nothing. No blacks, they're not going in the streets. They're not engaging. They're not doing none of that. But look what they brewing over here with Abraham Tory, right? So you saw how this video ended. Protests started erupting over there, all over the place. This last attempt, because like I said, what they did was, I don't know if anybody know about it, but the last attempt was they actually poisoned him, but it didn't kill him. He recovered. Okay. So anybody heard about these protests?
Shalom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I heard that there's supposed to be a national or continental wide protest on Monday in all
Exactly.
of Africa. And
Right.
so I think that what happened with Gaddafi is different. I think by the time they attacked, they had turned the people against Gaddafi. Why, I don't know, or that's just the propaganda we heard. But I hear differently for Torre. I don't hear the people turning against him. I hear more and more people around the world turning against or in support of him. And if it is true, I'm hearing that North Korea, China, and Russia all have sent troops there. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, yeah. So let's look at it. I talked about this before. I don't know if anybody if it registered or not. Did you remember the Summer of Rage? Anybody remember that? I had that conversation.
Yes, sir.
The whole Middle East erupted in protest. That's not normal. That's not natural. So how do they do that? Like I said, this is one of the characteristics of hearts. People don't know nothing about. They can, just like they can send a beam and manipulate a hurricane and make it intensify. They can make it rain where they got frequencies. All they need to do is stir up a certain region, just start some kind of little chaos, a little bit of chaos. Then they can beam this area, this whole area, and then they stir that, just like you stir a hurricane, and the people erupt. So the whole Middle East, they erupted. The reason why the Middle East like it is now, they had every country just come out in the streets protesting, and like the guy was saying, it was unnatural the way what the people was doing. It was like they was under some kind of spell or something. But the whole Middle East, all you have to do is Google it. It's called the Summer of Rage. And during this same time is when they knocked Gaddafi off. So now, here we go again. So, as like I said before, let's look at it. So, tie your shoes up. So anyway, so now all of a sudden we ain't been in the streets. We gotta look at what's been set up over here. They got all the soldiers back here in America. They got all of them all along the Mexican border, all that. All these soldiers, battle-ready soldiers, they back. They got them back in America. So, but we ain't protesting. They need us to come out in the streets, right? They need us to come out in the streets. Now let's look at this. This is what's happening right now as we speak. Okay, let me get it. Yeah, here you go. Check it out. So you can go Google this on your own too.
There is a protest coming.
See?
This has to be the biggest march and the first act of demonstration on the streets of all African states in Africa's history. This will be a march in support of Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. This shall not be the end, but just the beginning, ladies and gentlemen.
First, they turned him into the Black Panther with the media. Okay, you got to think about that.
Is simple. France and the United States government needs to back off from any attempt to remove Captain Traore from office.
We have seen,
All the youth.
How Africans
all the youth in Africa that caught fire
are responding to these threats that Trump and his people have issued at Traore. That, I don't know, that general who was saying that Traore is using his gold to protect himself and I don't know what. They have even decided, I should say we have even decided.
So just like Martin Luther King and all those other Negroes back in the day, they sheep herders. Now they got these influences today, they sheep herders. They herding the sheep in the direction they want to send them in. That's how they got these platforms and the reason they done blowed up the way they are. Okay?
That April 30th, there will be a global protest. Okay. Africans will globally take to the streets to defend Traore, because guys are like, yo, another Gaddafi is not going to happen on our watch.
In a shocking and unexpected move, on April 30th, Africans from every corner of the motherland and the diaspora
America,
unprecedented numbers, their voices united in a thunderous roar of solidarity for Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore.
So, he ain't dead. So, George Floyd was a tit on a bull hog. So imagine, and look what they did with him. So imagine they killed Tora. After they didn't wind them up right here.
This is no ordinary protest.
This was Project 2021 waiting on 2025.
The likes of which we have not witnessed in decades, sparked by a brazen assassination attempt on Traore and inflammatory threats from US General Michael Langley, head of AFRICOM. The accusations that Traore is misusing Burkina Faso's gold to fund his military have only fanned the flames of African rage, exposing the West's desperation to control our resources.
African rage.
And the cowardice of corrupt African leaders who tremble in the face of this awakening. As I report this, the streets of Ouagadougou, Accra, Lagos, Nairobi, Addis Ababa, Johannesburg and beyond are buzzing with anticipation. From the bustling markets of Dakar to the diaspora hubs in London, Paris and New York, Africans are organizing, mobilizing and preparing to make history. These protests are not just a defense of Captain Traore. They are a clarion call to African leaders to emulate his courage, reject foreign domination, and prioritize their people. The audacity of Burkina Faso's young leader has struck a chord, and the ripple effects are leaving corrupt African elites quaking in their imported suits, their ill-gotten wealth no longer a shield against the tidal wave of public fury. The latest assassination attempt on Captain Ibrahim Traore, reported on April the 21st, 2025, was not an isolated incident. It was the latest in a string of over 20 documented plots to eliminate the 37-year-old revolutionary since he seized power in September 2022. Each attempt has only strengthened his resolve and deepened the love Africans have for him. The plot, allegedly orchestrated from...
Nothing no different than how they use the media and wind Bin Laden up. Same thing. Like I said, they're talking all this smack, but what can we do? Look what the Bush did to Kuwait and to Gaddafi, and what he did to, especially what he did to the guy in Babylon. I can't think of his name. Saddam Hussein. The weaponry. Okay, so once they give the reason and make it legitimate that what reason they attacking, what it ain't gonna be no more Sahel when they finish. Come on.
From Ivory Coast with ties to ousted former President Paul Henry Damiba, aimed to plunge Burkina Faso into chaos.
They can't let this keep going.
Policies that bled the nation dry.
They do.
But the Burkinabe military, under Traore's leadership, thwarted the scheme, arresting dozens of conspirators and exposing the foreign hands pulling the strings. Adding fuel to the fire, US General Michael Langley, in a US Senate hearing on April 3rd, 2025.
It's the playbook, same playbook, same blueprint.
Accused Traore of diverting Burkina Faso's $4 billion of gold reserves for personal protection rather than national development.
These baseless claims, devoid of evidence, are a
They said my man was robbing people. That's how they got him. They said can't remember what his name. The guy with the black star line. What his name? Marcus Garvey. Then they say he was fleecing the people with money. That's what they told him. Same thing. They say this dude here, they use this Negro here to say that Tory is fleecing the people, getting the gold. So now they gotta do something with him. So they're getting threats from the European Union to go to the Sahel, and they're getting threats from this Negro here, the military, U.S. military.
Thinly veiled attempt to demonize a leader who dares to nationalize Burkina Faso's gold mines, halt the export of unrefined gold to Europe, and build a national gold refinery to process 150 tons annually. Langley's words are not just an attack on Traoré, they are an insult to every African who dreams of a continent free from the shackles of resource plunder. The West's panic is palpable. Traoré's bold moves, expelling French troops, forging alliances with Mali and Niger in the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, and pivoting toward partnerships with Russia and other non-Western powers, have disrupted the neo-colonial order. His refusal to bow to foreign dictates threatens the profits of multinational corporations and the geopolitical agendas of Western capitals. The assassination attempts and Langley's threats are desperate measures to stop a man who embodies the spirit of Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's assassinated revolutionary icon, and who's
not Enoch, not David, not Solomon. He ain't mentioned now Hebrew Israelite. Come on.
Vision for African sovereignty resonates far beyond his nation's borders. On April 30th, 2025, Africa will witness a historic outpouring of unity and resistance. From the Sahel to the Horn, from the Maghreb to the Cape, millions of Africans will take to the streets, their placards proclaiming "Hands off Traoré" and "Africa for Africans." In Ouagadougou, the epicenter of this movement, organizers expect over 1 million Burkinabe to march, their voices echoing Traoré's mantra, "La poussière va se soulever," the dust will rise. But this is not just Burkina Faso's fight. In Ghana, the Pan-African youth movement has mobilized thousands to rally in Accra. In Nigeria, students and activists are planning a Traoré Solidarity March in Lagos, while in South Africa, the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, have pledged to lead protests in Johannesburg, Cape Town and Pretoria, calling Traoré a beacon of African liberation. The diaspora is equally mobilized. In London, the African Diaspora Network is organizing a march to the US Embassy, condemning Langley's threats and demanding an end to AFRICOM's meddling in African affairs. In Paris, Burkinabe immigrants and Pan-African activists will protest outside the French Foreign Ministry, accusing France of complicity in the assassination attempts. In the United States, the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, AAPRP, is coordinating rallies in Washington, D.C. and New York, urging African Americans to stand with Traoré and reject the imperialist narratives held by Langley and his ilk. These protests are unprecedented in their scale and scope. Not since the anti-apartheid marches of the 1980s or the independence struggles of the 1960s have Africans united with such fervor. Social media is ablaze with hashtags like #IStandWithTraoré, #AfricaRises, and #NoMorePuppets, amplifying the message to millions. Videos of Traoré's speeches, particularly his historic address to African youth, are going viral, inspiring a generation to demand leaders who serve their people, not foreign interests. The protests are a testament to the power of collective action, a reminder that when Africans unite, no force, Western or otherwise, can silence us. The April 30th protests are not just a celebration of Traoré, they're a stinging rebuke to Africa's corrupt and complacent leaders. The sight of millions, including Burkinabe exiles in Ivory Coast, Ghana and Mali, marching in support of a president from another country, is a profound embarrassment to the African Union's old guard. While Traoré, at 37, lives on his military captain's salary, rejects lavish perks, and invests Burkina Faso's gold wealth in roads, schools, and security, many African leaders wallow in opulence, their Swiss bank accounts swollen with stolen funds. Each was targeted for daring to prioritize their people over foreign interests, and Africans are determined not to let Traoré suffer the same fate. Social media posts calling for a day of prayer to shield Traoré from demonic forces reflect the depth of this commitment. In Mali, youth groups have vowed to...
Who they praying to? Come on. They ain't praying to the God our forefathers prayed to in Egypt. Come on.
Stand as a human shield for Traoré, while in Niger, citizens are organizing solidarity caravans to Ouagadougou. The diaspora, too, is mobilizing, with fundraising campaigns to support Burkina Faso's security efforts and petitions demanding that the US and France cease their interference. This readiness to defend Traoré is rooted in a broader vision of Pan-African unity. His leadership of the AES, which prioritizes collective defense and mutual assistance among Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, offers a blueprint for regional cooperation free from Western oversight. Africans see Traoré as a catalyst for a second independence, one that...
Okay, any comments? Feedback? Anybody got any feedback?
Shalom. As far as his religion, don't know what his religion is. I know they were saying a lot of people are Muslims and Christians were in that area, but doesn't say what he is so far.
Do it matter? Do it matter?
Yeah, it matters if he's part of the Lord of Hosts, and the Lord of Hosts is using him. But if he's not, he's being, he's being an example of what Christians do, and he will probably break down and join BRICS, or he would go he's on his own, but no one can be on their own without about the Lord of Hosts.
Okay.
Shalom.
Okay.
He's Muslim, but if we go back to the book, to the Bible, in the Old Testament, it is not uncommon for the Most High to use people outside of the Israelites in order to carry out his agenda. So I'm not sure that what it is that he's going to do, but I think this man's being protected for a reason. I think this is gonna play out different than Gaddafi.
Right, it's more at stake. It's more at stake for them. Well, if it didn't get to the point that Gaddafi had the following because of the fear that was there during his time, but that fear is not as great as it was with Gaddafi that it is now. From what it did, when you understand how they set this up, they showed different leaders ousting people from here and ousting people from there, and people's their attitude, and they started building. They started building a resistance attitude, and they built it up. You got to look at what they did with the movies, the movie industry, what they did with Black Panther, with Wakanda, how they set all that up, and you can see that they didn't build Tory up to the same place. He's like the Black Panther. They didn't set it all up. And so now what they're doing is now they finna bring them out in the streets. They can't, it's gotta be justified. Like with Saddam Hussein. They had to set up the World Trade Center for the masses of the people because they would have looked at them like that they were savages. So they had to look at it, they had to set it up that they attacked us first, when the whole time they the ones set the attack up. And then when they went over there and we sit there and watched it, the power that they have, the military power, how they wipe them out. They can do the same thing there, but they gotta find a reason. They gotta set up a reason why they gonna go over there and do what they do. So they gotta bring us, they gotta make the people make it aggressive, like we make an aggressive move toward them.
So Shalom, so what would be your thoughts on the how this ties into the end times and the Most High returning. How do you see this playing out?
I see it as this. We always reading in the Psalms, especially what David talks about. He says they got devices. They set up devices, wicked ass devices, and you got to understand that you got powers and principalities in high places. Then you got a race of people that's wicked as hell. So they set up these elaborate devices to try to get rid of the Most High people, but they always end up turning on them. So it's a wicked ass device that they didn't devise, but it's gonna cause our deliverance.
Shalom, I agree. I think this is I think this will be a beginning of the linchpin that
Right.
starts the real thing that's about to take place.
Right, exactly. Then the Lord of hosts come in. But this is you can see all, like I said before, we ain't nowhere in the Old Testament no Negro got on no red beret hat. But all our history, Marcus Garvey all the way back, Pan-Africanism. That's why he got a red hat on. And you can't not look at that. And then you got big mouth ass the other lady, she got a red beret on. Come on, that's not Yahweh. That's Pan-Africanism. And Pan-Africanism is a rebellious spirit and revolt. That's what they playing on. That's what bringing the niggas out in the streets. So let's look at this next video. If you don't believe what I'm saying, this is happening in America right now as we speak. So when they say diaspora, they talking about America.
I have 10 years of experience.
They talking about, job requires they're talking about African Americans and Africans that recently came here over the last 100 years or so, and they come here. They all part of they're not in Africa, but they're in America, but they part of diaspora. So let's look at this.
Massively to show the support for Ibrahim Traore. Share to everyone you think needs to hear. Let's go in. Let's dip in the video.
So like I said before, look at how many Negroes kill you buying JC. You gotta look at the spirit we're dealing with.
So, many of us were told, don't go to Burkina Faso.
Pan-Africanism, this is what she talking about.
Greetings to all leaders of the African soil, the custodians of our heritage. We, the land and minerals movement, and
every one of these boulets, the Divine Nine, all that, Pan-Africanism. That's what they riding on. They ain't dealing with the Creator and the Lord of hosts.
Of South Africa rise today with a unified voice to express our unwavering solidarity with a revolutionary son of Africa, President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from. Welcome back to my YouTube space. Our Black people, all of us, we have a task here that we need to do. And we have only one task, and it is supporting Ibrahim Traore, is praying for Ibrahim Traore. It is joining hands for Ibrahim Traore, the leader of Burkina Faso. I have a lot of people who have come to my inbox requesting me to have a prayer live for Ibrahim Traore. And I said yes, so I'm planning for it. Because when I started this channel, I am a Pan-African. And when I started this channel, I was talking about Traore and the things he has done and why we need to support him. But before that, let's watch these clips. And then we come back here. I want to take you step by step why we are supporting Ibrahim Traore. Let's watch these videos and then we'll come back.
Many of us were told, don't go to Burkina Faso. It's a war-torn country. Guns all over the streets. Mr. President, we want you to know that the more they told us not to go to Burkina Faso, the more we ran to Burkina Faso.
2-3 years ago, she was telling everybody to go to Ghana.
in the country of the upright man is a dream come true. To President Traore, the reincarnation of Thomas Sankara.
You hear that? Ain't that what JC said? If you can believe it, John the Baptist is Elijah. Hell no. Just like this dude here, he ain't no reincarnation of Thomas Sankara. That's witchcraft.
President Traore, who has led the struggle to complete the unfinished business that was started by our ancestors and our Pan-African leaders in 1963, when they created the Organization of African Unity.
David ain't got nothing to do with that. Solomon, Enoch, Noah. Okay, here we go. This is Americans right here. When you look at how they operate. If you think it's just in Africa, check it out. Just as we speak.
I want to speak briefly about Burkina Faso and their president, Ibrahim Traore. As an African-American woman, I am so proud of President Traore and so happy for the people of Burkina Faso. I want to state for the record that African-Americans have nothing to do with any assassination attempts, any destabilization of the country, or any criticism of President Traore. I don't know any American, and I don't know every American, but I don't know any American that even knows who General Michael Langley is. I actually just found out who he was 2 days ago. But when you see Black people being put in a position like that, and then turn on their heels to criticize another leader in another country, that is by design. And they do not speak for us. They are ruining the reputation of African Americans globally, making people think that we feel this way. We have our own problems.
General Lange, I see that you are making waves on these social media streets, okay? Burkina Faso people have sent me to give you a message. They said they are very, very happy with Captain Ibrahim Traore. They are very happy with him. They don't have a problem with him. They understand what you are trying to do, but they are very, very happy with Captain Ibrahim Traore and what he's doing for them. So I thought that I would send you this message in case there was some misunderstanding. Captain Ibrahim Traore also kind of understands why you threw him under the bus, and it was you, because when he took this mission to free his people, he knew that based on history and based on what the West have done to their leaders, including Thomas Sankara, he knew that they were going to send you. So we were aware that you were coming. I just want to give you a little tip and a little side note. It's not only Burkina Faso people that are happy for him. In fact, the whole of Africa have sent me, yes, this is a very risky thing you are doing. Look, Africans are very, very happy with Ibrahim Traore. Today is a hope of Africa. So I just thought that I would whisper this in your ear. That next time you go in front of your masters, I have a list of people that Africans have sent me to let you know that you can go after those people. But my brother, you know that in America we are second-class citizens. Why you for do that? And Captain Ibrahim Traore, you know, the system that makes us 3/4 of a human being. So you know what I'm talking about. The system that makes us 3/4 of a human being. The only way we get out of
Traore, the president of Burkina Faso. Yes, I said it, president. Okay, I don't care what anybody has to say that he doesn't deserve the presidential title because he took it illegally by coup. Who cares? Do you know the corrupt, evil, wicked leaders that was in parliament when he took over? That was stealing from the people. If you see some of the poverty in Burkina Faso, you have to say, do these people have a heart?
To be able to see such poverty, yet be piling money, these politicians, into their bank accounts and going abroad to be educating their children abroad, going abroad for medical care and private jets and all of these, and you are seeing the poverty of the people. Doesn't this I can't even speak. Why don't you arrest some of these African leaders that are corrupt, that are plundering the country, that's allowing you to plunder the country, that's selling the resources for cheap? Why don't you arrest them? Why are you not fast to go and arrest these people? But this man who has revolutionized his country, who does that? On Mother's Day, he went to visit the widows, gave them hope, gave them money, to the point that the widows are protesting that they do not want him to step down. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I...
Okay. Any comments? Questions? Anybody got any feedback? Okay.
Shalom. I honestly, I think I personally have mixed feelings about it.
Right.
What is going on there because of the oppression and the stuff that has happened over there and to what has happened to us. I think sometimes it's hard to separate it out. I think my journey on being an Israelite woman, this personally, I think it is conflicting for me because I do see what is happening there. I am happy to see Africa in my view rising. I think this is different than the things that happened in the past because I also see what is also happening from the Most High as well. But I guess it's, and part of the reason why I'm here in this class is understanding and separating those things out. I don't know if anybody else feel that way, but I do. And so I continue to come looking for the guidance to help me navigate that.
Okay. Somebody else have any comments?
Shalom, I just have a question. By them taking all their gold back, and like you said, that once this over with, the gold would be the thing that the Lord gave us gold, and by Ibrahim Torre collecting all the gold and not letting these the Westerns or France, Europe, and them take the gold anymore or have anything to be over the gold, is that gold of some significance because of what he's doing with the gold?
Well, it's not just him. You got the guy in Ghana. He wanted the Americans and all the other European countries that came there to bring back all the artifacts and they gold and all that. It ain't just him. So, like I'm saying, they see what's happening. So they're not just, we know in the past, they never just sit back and didn't do nothing. So they didn't advise the plan. Just like 2025, Project 2025. It didn't come out the blue. They saw what was happening. They saw what's happening to their world. They saw what the Creator said it was gonna happen. They see it unfolding. So they not just gonna sit on the sidelines and don't do nothing. They got a plan. And we see right here, this is an old playbook. They done this before. They brought Martin Luther King on the scene. They built him up. Negroes ain't know who he was. They did the same thing they're doing now. We know with Ibrahim Torre because they put him on social media and put him on their propaganda machine and built him up. That's all we know him. That's the only reason we know him. And so and they did every other person. They did the same thing with him. They world is the Most High is bringing their world down. So they got some kind of plan, divisive plan to try to keep it going. What we're looking at is a last ditch effort, which is not going to work.
Shalom. So they're trying to bring down Africa by doing what they're doing.
Well, the resources from the time that they came on the scene 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, they depleted all the resources. But Africa has so many resources now. Africa's the only place where our resources is. So they then devise a plan to get all those resources. Because if they don't, like the lady from the European Union said, if we don't do something about them, like with Wall Street, they attacked Black Wall Street because it was gonna grow. Their life was being threatened. If they sitting there watching what we doing in Black Wall Street, they're not gonna sit there and don't let it happen. Just let it keep going. So they came in and shut it down. That's what she just said. We got to do something with what Tory and these other 3 countries doing in the Sahel. We got to destroy that.
Shalom, but that.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nah, I'm good.
I was just gonna say, but to me, I think this is their only playbook to do what they've always done because it's been successful in the past. And so,
Exactly.
but this time, I think is definitely different. I don't think they're going to be successful. Because the stage is different from when Gaddafi got killed. It
Right.
was also different when 9/11 took place. We
Right.
were not. If you looking out, if you looking from 10,000 feet looking down, the desperation that I see, I didn't see in 2011,
Right. Exactly.
and I didn't
Exactly.
see in 9/11. But it's
Right.
they definitely desperate now.
Right. Right. And so like I was saying before, they got a plan, but we know that the Lord of hosts and heaven got a plan. And we see heaven's plan unfolding. That's what's bringing about all this.
Right.
Right.
Shalom. So, just trying to get my mind straight on, I do visual more than speaking. So I'm looking at it. Who's going to be the one help them take down and get these resources? What is
They're not gonna get them.
China
They're not gonna get them. They're not gonna lay down and not put forth the
try?
effort. They're not gonna get them because
Okay.
prophecy is coming. Prophecy is taking over.
Shalom.
But that don't mean that they're not gonna put an effort out to try to.
Shalom.
I'm not saying they're gonna succeed, but you got to know what we looking at right now. They devising this. We haven't seen we haven't seen just like when the Lord of hosts came to Egypt. It came a point when he killed the firstborn and all that. They knew the Lord was back. That point, that event haven't happened yet with us. It's getting ready to happen because of what they're doing, but that event haven't happened yet. What they're doing is gonna get spoiled, but it ain't happened yet. Right. So it's something major has to happen, and when it happens, it's gonna kill JC and everything. That's how the Lord of hosts works.
Shalom. I think one of the ways to help is to imagine that a chain of events are being lined up. When it looks like the other side is
Right.
building
Right.
a defense that can't be defeated, it's what it looks like on their side. But I'm telling
Right.
you, everything is different this time. This is their
Exactly.
last defense.
Right. Right. And like I said before, all we do is look in the past. Wasn't it it was hopeless when Haman set that up with Esther, right? When Artaxerxes gave Haman he had to leave and he gave him the authority, and Haman put the letter out saying that on a certain day we're gonna kill all the Jews. But the Lord of hosts intervened. That's where we at.
Shalom. And then also, Brother Leonard, you remember you had told us about the other thing that made me think about it is when you had talked about Gog and Magog. I don't
Right.
remember, again, when all these other things, these other events we've been talking about took place, I didn't see China and Russia uniting to come to the aid of Gaddafi. I understand that Gaddafi was Putin's friend, but I don't know. Again, the events were not lined up for that to take place, but for some reason, or maybe that had to take place for what's about to happen to be lined up now.
Right. That's what we're looking at. They want they got the agenda they have right now is to annihilate us. They fumbling around with the people that don't have no understanding and no understanding of the Creator and what has happened to us as a people and who we are. They don't see none of this, but the ones that do, it's about it's about them coming to the point to where they want to annihilate us. That's where we at.
And Shalom, another little tattletale sign. You know how you speak about the example of Egypt. Remember how Pharaoh used to talk about the Israelites were producing more children than they were?
Right, exactly.
Now look what did our president just came out and said this week? They want to pay people $5,000 to have babies now.
Right, exactly.
That's desperation.
It's desperation. It's the same. And then, like I said, those are the things that they pay attention to on a daily basis that we don't. We starting to pay attention to it, the ones that the Most High dealing with, but they've been paying attention to those things. It's not a coincidence that we ended up on one side back in the day, the blacks on one side of the track and the whites on the other side. That's because they've been playing it. They plotted all that. It's not an incident we end up in the projects because they sit there playing it. Same thing with this. He said we're the blind. He blinded us. He said, bring forth the blind. We the ones that blinded. They never was blinded. They know they've been knowing who they were. It's been passed down to them, but we got cut off. We got blinded on our knowledge and our understanding. Now we waking up. But they've been plotting and playing against us the whole time.
Shalom. And look how desperate they are with us waking up to our own knowledge, how desperate they are to suppress it.
Right. That's what to come back to that, like the Most High said, David said the devices that they come up with, 2025. They've been seeing what's been transpiring in the last 20 years, last couple of decades. They saw a black president come on the scene. They saw a black female vice president. They see all these black CEOs, and then these you people not paying attention to it, but the authority that like Lamar Jackson willing. Wasn't no black dude say, I ain't paying, I'm not paying, I want X amount of money, I'm worth this. I ain't going for that, I'm not playing, you gonna pay me this, and then he got it. So that's what they just done with Deion Sanders' son. They done humiliated the dude because they see the thought, they see the zeal and authority that's in him. He capable of getting, if they don't cut it off, the Negroes capable of getting $1 trillion for a $1 trillion contract. They had to cut it off. And that's what 2025 is all about. Cutting that off.
And that's where the desperation come in.
That's where the desperation coming in. Yeah. That's where we at. And so now they didn't made up in their mind, if you paying attention, that we got to annihilate these Negroes. Ain't no more of these little games they've been doing, cutting us off here. And now they got to annihilate us. And so now our God, whoever he is, we know who he is. Now he got to show up. That's what we're getting ready to happen.
And they can't annihilate us because they ain't put us here.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, but like I said before, don't think they're not gonna try. They ain't gonna succeed, but don't think they're not gonna try. And that's what we're looking at. This big major revolt they talking about right here on April 30th. That's what they've been plotting up.
Yeah.
Okay, come on. And like I said before, don't let them kill him. What you think gonna happen? It's over.
Yeah. Shalom. And remember, again, if you keep going back looking at the examples from the past, what did they do before Moses came? They threw all those babies at a certain age and younger. They put them they drowned them in the Nile.
Right.
Right. And they
Right.
still thrive.
And they
They
still
can't
doing
get rid of
it.
us.
Right. They fed little black babies, put them on a string like a worm for alligators.
Right.
So ain't nothing different. And then we was reading last night where the man, if the man wouldn't do, the Israelite man wouldn't get his tally when it comes to the amount of bricks he's supposed to do in a day, they take the babies. Have many bricks he didn't live up to that during that day. They took the babies and put them in the wall. I don't think people was hearing when I was reading that, but that's what he said. They put the baby in the wall. His son. If he didn't meet his quota for that day, they came and took his son and put him in the wall. So you say, what are you talking about? Go to the slave movies that we watch with the cotton. If they came up short with the amount of cotton they supposed to have in that particular day, come on.
Yeah. Leopold did the same thing. They cut off their heads of the children.
Right. That's where we at. This desperation. Oh yeah. So like I said before, don't think that we right there. It just they fumbling with it, but it's going when it finally come to a head, it's over with. Okay? It ain't gonna be business as usual no more. In your neighborhood, around your house, it ain't gonna be business no more as usual. Okay? So I guess we'll try to read a few chapters. Anybody else got anything on that?
Shalom. So by this protesting being over in Africa and by us being here, and they tried to do the protest here for us getting the black Americans out there to protest. It didn't work, but they know that it's going to happen on the 30th, or would it actually happen on the 30th for the protest?
They already started.
Oh, they are in the streets now?
Yeah, you got to Google it. Google it. That's why I was playing this. Yeah, they already started. You got, like I was saying, you got to go back to Pan-Africanism. All these bootleg groups and all these Q dogs, all them people, they riding off of Pan-Africanism. It's all based off of that. So now you got all these black guys in these HBU schools and all that. They want to go to Africa and fight for Tory. Where that's coming from? Pan-Africanism. It's a spirit that's been here. That's what we're looking at right now. That's what's happening in America right now. People are getting resources together to go to Africa to help them protect Tory. It's just starting. That's the reason why I'm talking about it. Okay? Yeah, that's where we at. Yeah, and so all the youth all over then erupted. Okay? Yeah, so with that being said, I'm gonna read 2 chapters out of Zechariah, because we already. I'm gonna read Zechariah, right? And let me see what it looked like first. So when we come back on Tuesday, right, for our Israelite Bible study, we should have a serious conversation. If you go and do some research on what I'm talking about, let me get it. Yeah, on Zechariah chapter 11. Okay, let's see what they look like. Okay, yeah, we can read all of it. You want to read chapter 11, Michelle?
Shalom. Yes, sir, I can.
Okay.
Zechariah chapter 11. Open thy doors, O Lebanon, that the fire may devour thy cedars. Howl, fir tree, for the cedar is fallen, because the mighty are spoiled. Howl, O ye oaks of Bashan, for the forest of the vintage is come down. There is a voice of the howling of the shepherds, for their glory is spoiled. A voice of the roaring of young lions, for the pride of Jordan is spoiled. Thus said the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them shall, excuse me, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich, and their own shepherds pity them not. For I will no more pity in for I will no more pity the inhabitants of the land, said the Lord. But lo, I will deliver the men every one into his neighbor's hand, and into the hand of his king, and they shall smite the land, and out of their hand will I not deliver them. 7. And I will feed the flock of slaughter, even you, O poor of the flock. And I took unto me 2 staves, the one I called beauty, and the other I called bands, and I feed the flock. And I fed the flock, sorry. 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you. That 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 dieth, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off, and let the rest eat every one the flesh of another. And I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I might break my covenant which I had made with all the people. 11. And it was broken in that day. And so the poor of the flock that waited upon me knew that it was the word of the Lord. And I said unto them, if ye think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed for my price 30 pieces of silver. And the Lord said unto me, cast it unto the potter, a goodly price, that I was prized of them. And I took the 30 pieces of silver and cast them to the potter in the house of the Lord. 14. Then I cut asunder my other staff, even bands, that I might break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel. And the Lord said unto me, take unto thee yet the instruments of a foolish shepherd. For lo, I will raise up a shepherd in the land, which shall not visit those that be cut off, neither shall seek the young one, nor heal that is broken, nor feed that standeth still. But he shall eat the flesh of the fat, and tear their claws into pieces. Woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock! The sword shall be upon his arm, and upon his right eye. His arm shall be clean, dried up, and his right eye shall be utterly darkened. That was Zechariah chapter 11.
Okay, got any comments on that?
No, sir. Can you please explain verse 7 and also that last verse that I read, 17?
It says, verse 7 says, I will feed the flock of the slaughter, even you, or O poor of the flock. And I took unto me 2 staves, and one I called beauty, and the other I called bands, and I fed the flock. So that's the northern and southern kingdom. You get that?
Yes, sir. Now I do. Yes, sir.
Northern and southern kingdom. So you think, like I was saying, Zechariah prophesying. I told you Zechariah was in captivity in Babylon. So Zechariah prophesied that Nebuchadnezzar was coming, just like Isaiah did, and just like Jeremiah did. So anyway, so then you go to chapter 17. Verse 17, it says, woe to the idle shepherd. So this somebody that, like a tits on a bull hog. He ain't doing nothing. He's supposed to be a shepherd, but he ain't taking care of the flock. That's the idle shepherd. So he says, woe to the idle shepherd that leaveth the flock. The sword shall be upon his arm. See that? And upon his right eye. And his arm shall be clean dried up. And his right eye shall be utterly darkened. So I was telling you about a man. The man's strong side is his right hand, right?
Yes, sir.
So when they anoint, they say Moses laid hands on Joshua, his right arm. That's why you always see in the Lord of hosts, they say, raise thy right hand, raise forth thy right hand. So that's the power is in the right hand. Your anointing is on the right hand. So you lay in the right hand when Jacob anointed Joseph's two sons, remember? He wanted the youngest son, he laid him toward his right hand. And the eldest son, he laid toward the left hand. And Joseph said, no, that ain't right. The eldest, which is the firstborn, you're supposed to lead him to the right hand. And the youngest, the other boy, goes to the left hand. But Michael had sent a dream to Jacob and told him Ephraim was going to be more powerful than Manasseh. So that's why he led Ephraim to his right hand, the youngest. So the power was in the right hand. So being that this guy right here, he's talking about this prophet, is wicked, and so knowledge is in the right eye. Like with Solomon asked for knowledge. The knowledge is considered in the right eye, and the power is in the right arm. So he says right here in 17, woe to the idle shepherd. He wicked as hell, right? That leaveth the flock. He left the flock. So he said, a sword shall be upon his arm and upon his right eye. See, he ain't got no more knowledge. He took the knowledge away from him. His arm shall be, see that? His arm shall be dried up. I mean, the power ain't in his right arm no more. Then, and his right eye shall be darkened. I mean, knowledge gone. He sits on the bullhorn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what they're talking about. And that's why I was saying, or I talk about it every time it presents itself. You go back and watch the movie Noah. They made, I don't know if anybody remember that, but on the movie, when it first came on, he had a snake skin that he was wrapping around his arm, his right arm. Anybody remember that? Go watch the movie. They got snake skin, right? Serpent's knowledge. He wrapping around his right arm, and then it started glowing. And then he laid his hands on Seth. So they putting all that right in your face, but nobody don't know what they talking about. But he's saying that the knowledge that our forefathers had before the flood was serpent knowledge, serpentine knowledge. Okay, yeah. Anyway, but that's what they're talking about.
Okay, Brother Leonard, I just have a little comment. As I remember coming up, like my little sister and little brother, like when they first started learning how to write, they would always put their pencil in their left hand. And Mama would always take it from their left and put it in their right. And I don't even think she knows why she was doing that. I guess just maybe what she was taught or saw other people do. But you explaining verse 17 just took me back to that, of that meaning of right.
But that's when you understand who we are. See those things like we know when we talk about how they giving us all these pills. You start out with a headache and they give you a pill for your headache, but that pill got side effects. Then you look up, you're taking 10 different pills. So it's the same thing with that. That's not the knowledge that was passed down by our forefathers. They suppressed the knowledge that was passed down by our forefathers. That's one of them. They knew that if the kid dealing with his left hand, no, make him work with his right hand. That knowledge was passed down, and all that stuff been done away with. That's the reason why we're in the state that we in. Like even with our hair and all that, it was the same way we dealt with our hair. We ain't doing that no more. Well, the things that they didn't gave us and overtook that, because they have, and whatever chemicals they're gonna come up with to deal with their hair ain't the same chemicals to deal with our hair, or with our skin, or with our organs. So all those things are passed down, but they systematically done away with that knowledge. And like I said, that was one of them. It was understood that that's the strong side. Yah side was the right side. Right.
Yes,
Is that
sir. I
so?
understand. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So AJ, you want to read 12? Okay. Anidra, you want to read 12?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Zechariah chapter 12, verse 1. The burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith the Lord, which stretches forth the heavens, and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. In that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness. And I will open mine eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in the Lord of hosts, their God. In that day will I make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about, on the right hand and on the left. And Jerusalem shall be inhabited again in her own place, even in Jerusalem. The Lord shall also the Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, and the glory of the house of David, and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. And it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadadrimmon in the valley of Megiddon. And the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart, the family of Shimei apart, and their wives apart, all the families that remain, every family apart, and their wives apart. That was Zechariah.
Okay, so that's Zechariah 12. So what they when you understand was this alluding to the same thing in Ezekiel. You got these so-called pastors or mega pastors, whatever. They saying that in Ezekiel 37 is some kind of symbology, but it's literal. He's gonna raise up the whole house of Israel, and then our forefathers that already. When you get this understanding, you can see that the New Testament is a forest. So he's gonna raise up our forefathers. He told them that in Ezekiel 37. He's gonna live again. He's gonna raise them up out of their graves. And so when he raised him up, he told him, "You're gonna be like the angels." And he already told him, "You're gonna judge the angels." The 200 the angels that came down and he bound them, they're gonna judge them in the last days. So right here we see when you understand what's going on in verse 7, the Lord shall save the tents of Judah first, and the glory of the house of David. So the house of David is all the kings, they all dead. But he's talking about them right here because he's going to resurrect them. In Ezekiel 37, it says, and the Lord shall save the tents of the house of David, right? And the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, right? So how are you going to do that? And he that is feeble among them at that day, that's us, that day shall be as David. But the house of David, what you're going to resurrect, shall be as the angel of the Lord. They're going to be like the angels. When you resurrect them, they're going to be like the angels. See that? And then he says, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. So with these people right here. And so you say, what are you talking about? Go to Joel. We getting ahead of ourselves, but you go to Joel chapter let me see if I want to go 2 or 3. Okay, chapter 2. It says, blow ye the trumpet. The trumpet is the cue. Blow the trumpet in Zion, and sound the alarm in my holy mountain, and let all inhabitants of the land tremble. Right? Why? For the day of the Lord is come. For it is nigh at hand, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds, thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people. He's Ezekiel 37, that he done resurrected, and a strong, there have not been ever the like, neither shall there be any more after it, even to the years of many generations, right? 3, a fire devoured before them, and behind them a flame burning, and the land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them is the desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. So what is he talking about? Because they like the angels. When he formed those 7 angels, they made out of fire. Now he done resurrected the whole house of Israel. They like fire. So you say, what are you talking about? We already read this, but I'm gonna go read it again right quick to show you what time it is. That's what's coming. Yeah. 1 minute. Give me a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. So he says that in Joel, what Zechariah chapter 12 is talking about is the same thing Joel talking about, and the same thing that Malachi. Let me go there. That's where I was headed. So if we go to Malachi, we already read this, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Malachi chapter 1 says, no, chapter 4, my bad. So chapter 4 says, the coming day of the Lord, right? The Lord of hosts, when he come back in the last days. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, said the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave neither root nor branch. So based on the conversation we had earlier, see what I'm saying? Like I said, Pan-Africanism ain't got nothing to do with this. The fire from Yahweh ain't got nothing to do with Pan-Africanism. So anyway, right here, the reason he's saying it's the day of fire is because of what he's going to do in Zechariah, what he just told us in Zechariah, chapter 12. The house of David is going to be like a flame, like a fire, like the angel of the Lord. Because when he resurrects them, they're going to be like the angels. They're going to have the capabilities of the angels. That's why he's saying that. Even when you go to Obadiah, it says Esau going to be like stubble. So what you can't bring stubble around fire. Fire going to burn it up. So the nations, all the wicked folks going to be stubble. When we talked about that great fire that Mosiah was talking about, that's the great fire. Okay, any comments? Chapter 13. Let me see. Let me see. Charles, you want to read chapter 13?
Yes, 1 second. Zechariah chapter 13. In the day that shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass that in that day, said the Lord of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of the land. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet pros- prophecy, prophesy, then his father and his mother that begot him shall say unto him, Thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of the Lord. And his father and his mother that begot him shall thrust him through when he prophesieth. And it shall come to pass in that day, the prophet shall be ashamed every one of his vision when he hath prophesied, neither shall they wear a rough garment to the seed. But he shall say, I am no prophet. I am I am an husbandman. For man taught me to keep cattle from my youth. And one shall say unto him, What are these wounds in thy hands? Then he shall answer, These with which I was wounded in the house of my friends, the refining of God's raiment. Awake, O sword, again, my shepherd, and again against the man that is my fellow, said the Lord of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn my hand unto the little ones. And it came to pass that in all of the land, said the Lord, two parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, and I will hear them, and I will say, It is my people, and they shall say, The Lord is my God.
Okay. You got any comments on that?
It sounds like to me that what's being said here is when that's talking about the raiment that's going to get that's going to be saved.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So we see how they plucked it, how they put that in there, verse 6. They want you to think that's JC, but this is another verse they plucked out. Like I said, when they concocted him. Verse 6 says, And one shall say unto him, What are these wounds that's in thy hand? Then he shall answer, Those with which I was wounded in the house of my friend, right? But when you understand who the son is, we the ones got wounds on us. From the time we've been over here. It ain't got nothing to do with that. Okay? And I passed over another thing in chapter 1, in Zechariah chapter 10, about see how they put, let me get it. Chapter 11, I mean, says, 12. So if you've been in church, in Baptist church, you all should know this. Verse 12, and I said unto them, this is prophecy about Israel. It ain't got nothing to do with JC. I said unto them, if ye think good, give me my price, and if not, forbear. So they weighed me a price, 30 pieces of silver. Do that ring a bell for anybody?
Yes.
So they plucked the scripture out. They tied to JC. When Judas, he got betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. Right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So see how they plucked that out. They don't have nothing to do with JC. Right? And so, like I said, what kills that, I'm always going here, but I don't know if it's registered or not. So you go to Zechariah 9, chapter 9 and verse 9. Rejoice, O daughter of Zion. They say this JC. Rejoice, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. The daughter of Zion, the daughter of Jerusalem, is the people that left Babylon on their way back to Jerusalem. That's who the daughter of Zion is. O daughter of Jerusalem, behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just, having salvation, lowly, riding upon an ass, upon the coat of an ass, or the foal of an ass. So that the remnant coming from Jerusalem, Zerubbabel with them. When they mode of transportation back then was donkeys and asses. So how you gonna get from this Zerubbabel right here in Zechariah 9? Zechariah was in captivity and Zerubbabel. They coming back to Jerusalem. So how you get all the way over here in chapter 11 and verse 12, now all of a sudden these 30 pieces of silver talking about JC. You know, it don't work like that. It's crazy. So anyway, I'm gonna read chapter 14 and then we'll close out. It says, behold, the days of the Lord cometh, and the spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses raffled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle, and his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave into the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall be removed toward the north, and the other half toward the south. So, like I was saying before, when you understand what Revelations is, it's a combination of Ezekiel. When we see all kind of stuff in Zechariah that's coming out, that's in Revelations, like right here, verse 4, and his feet. So they tell you in Revelations that this angel gonna stand in his 1 foot in the water and 1 foot in the Mount of Olives. So here you go right here. And his feet shall stand up, this Lord of hosts. His feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem and the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave unto the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountains shall remove toward the north, and half toward the south. So this is where it came from. They got a revelation. Okay? And he shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach even unto Azal. Yea, ye shall flee, like as in ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzzah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light, and it shall be in that day that living waters shall go from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea in the summer, and in the winter shall it be. And the Lord shall be king over the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, his name one. And the Lord shall be turned as and the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananel unto the king's wine presses. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague which the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them, and they shall lay hold every one on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah also shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathens round about shall be gathered together, gold, silver, apparel in great abundance. And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents, as this plague. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the feast of the tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall it be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, that they shall have no rain, and there shall be plagues wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen. They come not to keep the feast of the tabernacle. This shall be the punishment of Egypt, and the punishment of all the nations that come not up to keep the feast of the tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bells of horses holiness unto the Lord, and the pots of the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all that sacrifice shall come and take of them and see it therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Okay, so like I said before, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Okay, anybody got any questions or comments? Okay, somebody want to pick a scripture so we can close out?
Shalom. Yes, sir. I'll pick one out of Malachi.
Okay.
Chapter 2 and verse 10. Have we not all one Father? Have not one God created us? Why do we deal treacherously, every man against his brother, by profaning the covenant of our fathers?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And this, you break it down? Yes, sir.
That's Zechariah. He's talking to the Israelites. They all have one God. They all have one Lord. And I was dealing with somebody earlier today, because when I had woke up this morning, it hit me. It's simple. When they try to impose JC on you, all you have to do is look at the Lord of hosts in the Old Testament. He wasn't concerned with the Chinese. He wasn't concerned with the German. His whole concern was Israelites. Then all of a sudden you get to the New Testament, this God that give us JC, now he worried about the whole world. It was a dead cat on the line, because the God in the Old Testament, all he was concerned with was Israel. So it's the same thing right there. Zechariah is telling them we all got one God as Israelites. And so why we all come together on that because of the covenant. So why is you dealing falsely with your brother when we all have one Lord, we all have one God, we all connected at the hip?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's thinking like a Hebrew. Okay. Okay, everybody good?
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see everybody on Tuesday for our Israelite Advanced Bible Study, and hopefully we can have a more in-depth conversation about what's going on with Torah, right? So you do some Googling and do some research. Okay. Shalom, yes. Shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand.
So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.